maybe more to
Yes.
the point, is it possible to be in a bad mood after you've listened to Bob Marley?
Yes, if you listen to Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah, I can see where that could make you
Yeah.
angry. Good point.
Yeah.
But even the music itself to that song is still like, everything's
Still
so happy.
Peppy music, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob Marley was one of the first artists that I actively listened to. I know we talk a bit about active listening. So,
Right.
yeah, back when I was able to have my own money, I was working. I'm going to date myself here. I bought a very expensive 3 CD disc changer stereo, but it also had the tape decks in it and the radio. It was like
Nice.
combo.
Oh, you got a combo.
Yeah.
Not a boombox. Though.
No, but because it was so expensive and I only had a limited amount of funds with my first little job, I could only afford to get 3 CDs. So I got a couple of artists that I was a little more familiar with, and Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Bob Marley was not an artist you were familiar with?
Not especially. Not
Fair.
none of them were active listening. I had heard them on the radio or listened to them in the little headphones at the CD store, but not active listening where I got to choose the music that I was going to hear. I didn't have any tapes of Bob Marley.
I think that Bob Marley is one of those artists that his music, like the name Bob Marley, has transcended his music, so that probably more people even know the name Bob Marley than
know
they
the
do
music.
actually the songs. I think
It's
a lot
more
of
of a-
people would
like a
actually be
mindset.
challenged to name 3 songs, and no, Don't Worry, Be Happy is
not
a
Bob Marley.
song,
Yes.
contrary to
Yes.
apparently the internet's popular belief.
Yeah. So I guess I got to take it back because I did actively listen to the things I had on tape. I'm saying with CDs. It was my first
Gotcha.
active listening with CDs, like
Gotcha.
in my older teenage years, I guess, where I was choosing my own music, buying my own music. Before with the tapes, I had either been gifted them or requested them as gifts and whatnot. But
Do you remember? Oh, sorry.
oh, I just was gonna say, like, in my 3D disc changer for months and months and months, I had Metallica, Enya, and Bob Marley and the Wailers, and it
Nice.
just went around and around and around.
That's a sweet and eclectic mix.
Like me.
Yes. I was going to say, do you remember, and I wonder if it was the same for you, because I also lived through the cassette to CD transition. Do you remember the first time you got a really good sounding CD and you played it and you were like, wow, this is like better than the radio? I remember feeling that way.
The CD.
That the sound sounded so good compared to some of the tapes and stuff that have been worn out
Over
and stretched
tapes.
out.
Yeah. No, I had
thought it
had
was
tapes
such
that I had.
a major change.
Yeah, I had ruined some tapes listening to them so much.
Yeah.
Or they had been tapes that we had recorded on and re-recorded over and re-recorded over and just worn the things out.
They get warbly.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a difference, you know? And then I guess having lived through that and then seeing the beginning of the MP3 years, it was kind of like, why are we going backwards?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
So frustrating.
that there are people on the planet that will never know the struggle of needing a pencil in order to put your tape back in the tape cassette.
Right?
It kind of
Right.
blows my mind a little bit. Or like the Be Kind Rewind days. Like,
So, you know, I mean, back in those days, rock stars were really made, right? And I think a lot of it, because you think of, like, a lot of the rock stars of today are still the rock stars of yesteryear, you know, and we see all these
Yeah.
tribute bands of Bruce Springsteen, Pink Floyd.
well, I think
et cetera,
rock
et
is
cetera.
almost a genre of the past nowadays.
Well, you know, it's been so splintered.
True. Yes, there's micro splintering of the rock genre.
However, I think it had something to do with the process you went through to listen to music, because you would take time to actually take an album, take a CD, put it on, look at the artwork, read the liner notes, learn about the people. You know,
Yes.
today's, yes, you can research the artist a lot more in depth because, like, at the click of a button, I can Google every album, any song, anything.
Yes.
But a lot of it was the mystery and the guessing game of it, and the kind of, it was like a religious experience. For instance, one of the first songs I really liked was Don Henley's Dirty Laundry when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
And I would sit by the cassette deck for hours.
Waiting for it to come on the radio.
Hoping for them to play it and not to talk over the intro.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd start recording even if they started talking because hopefully they'd drop out fast enough that it wasn't like...
It was still audible.
It was, or it wasn't still enough to kind of ruin the song for me, you know? And But then you'd have that copy of it, and then you'd be like, oh, I need a copy where it just comes from the other song and they're not crossfading the two songs together. I want just a clean cut of it. And you'd sit there, and I think you'd invest so much time, and then you'd invest so much time in your stereo and it sounding good, and cleaning your records, cleaning your CDs, reading your liner notes, that it gave a certain life to the artists that made the music.
Involved in it.
Yeah, there was a ritual. It was almost like I said, like a religious experience, you know? Whereas now, you know, if I think of a song off the top of my head, like...
You can stream it.
I'm like, oh, you know, Smooth Operator by Sade. I can literally just take my phone out and listen to it on demand.
Right.
You know, there is no ritual. There is no investment of time or energy or money for me to hear it. And I think that process has probably, more than anything, to me, what's devalued the art of music.
I think that might be part of the reason that I enjoy vinyl records so much. I think because the artwork is expanded, it's big where you can see kind of the thought, the whole thought. And I think listening to side A, then flipping it and listening to side B, I've always felt and often said that I feel like you're getting the entire sentence that the artist was trying to speak, as opposed to individual words that you might latch on to.
Or if nothing else, you know, even if nothing else, there's a lot of times where you hear a song by an artist and it grabs you so much that you want more.
Yes.
So why not, like, a whole side of an album was nice.
Yeah.
I'd often listen to, I like this side of an album.
Because you don't skip songs in vinyl, because it can, I mean, you can, there is a technique you showed me, but it's so much trouble. And also you risk damaging your needle, damaging your vinyl. It's just better to sit through your few minutes of song.
Yeah, we'd be patient because, you know, at the Pizza Hut, we'd have to sit through 20 songs to hear My Sharona by the Knack. You know, that we put in for a quarter. And we didn't want to waste our quarter. You know?
You could have played a Pac-Man for that quarter.
I could have played Pac-Man for that quarter, you know? So you had the patience to do that, and I think that I would often sit through a side of a record. In fact, I would listen to lots of just sides of records. Oh, I want to hear Neil Young for a little while. Oh, I want to hear Dire Straits for a while.
Right.
Oh, I want to hear this for a while. Well, maybe not want to flip the record, but maybe just want to hear a side, 3 or 4 songs from an artist, move on. 3 or 4 songs.
Even nowadays, in like you obviously know, you guys don't. In the kitchen, I have a CD player, and I will put a CD in there, and it will live in there for months, because I create a relationship with that whole album, even though it's not vinyl. I'll create a relationship with that piece of music as a whole, where I know what song's going to be coming next at the last note of the previous song, because I feel like that is creating that relationship between the thought that the artist wanted to convey, like the whole thought.
And I don't think, you know, here's something. I don't think the listener has really changed all that much in that regard, but the format has somewhat, you know, changed the way we do it. Because if you look on YouTube, you know, it's all algorithm based.
Yeah.
Right? So
we've taught it what we want.
We've taught it what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to a song by an artist, 90% of the songs on the right-hand side are songs by that same artist. Mm-hmm. So that means that people are going on there, searching for a song, listening to it, and then it will have, of course, you know, all the songs that are kind of genre-specific and similar to that song that other people have clicked off onto, you know, because it knows, right? It's an algorithm. It knows that if you listen to, you know, Bob Marley, Mellow Mood, then next you might want to hear Buffalo Soldier by, you know, or you might want to hear Don't Worry, Be Happy, or you might want to hear...
I gotta say that I think I have thoroughly confused my YouTube algorithm because of that, going back to that 3D disc changer that I had. I generally, like, if I want to create a relationship, it's going to be in my home, in my hands, like that tactile relationship. If I'm on YouTube, is to hear a piece of this one. Oh, who did that? Let me hear a few covers of that same song. Let me see what somebody has, how they've broken it down.
For you.
It is. I use YouTube more as a research. Yeah, for sure.
I think I tend to too. I don't get caught in a lot of listening habits there. And I do think that one of the downfalls of YouTube it's great to be able to watch so many videos, and I really love live performance videos because you can really watch them and study and just enjoy concerts that that were probably before our time.
So much information, too. Just so much information.
So much information. But I will say that YouTube tends to be a lot better at everything aside from music. For some reason, it doesn't seem either my music tastes are so wide. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's just my music tastes are so wide that it can't quite pin me down.
Right.
But, as far as other things, if I watch like How to Build a House, it will show me, sustainable living.
Right.
It will show me
a lot of related
gardening, things that are interesting, If I watch a song by Fish, it doesn't necessarily show me other bands a lot of times like Allman Brothers and, other bands that I consider related, Watchword Panic and Cover Mule. It'll just be like, hey, you watch a show by Fish. Do you want to watch another show by Fish?
Yeah. Yeah, here's more by Fish. Not even Trey stuff sometimes. They won't even...
Yeah, so
it doesn't even
it's
equate
weird.
that.
Like, hey, you watch this Fish show. Now do you want to watch, Christina Aguilera? And it's kind of like, maybe, but not... No.
So I just read something that is both enlightening and a little disheartening. It was about money in the music industry because I'm trying to understand different facets of the industry part of the music business because we're in a business, like it or leave it. We're the artistic side, so we're making product, but there's so many different facets that is the business
because
side.
Many people would consider us the product, not the music.
We are the product.
We are the product.
Gee whiz. Great. Sorry, guys.
That's the music industry.
So anyway, it was talking about this specific little chapter was talking about money in the music industry, and it was saying how a lot of these big labels, because they have millions, if not billions of dollars in their budget, that a lot of the award shows, for instance, this is just an example, will always be weighted toward these people because they have the money to buy voting rights membership for each of their employees.
Right.
So they've made the investment in weighting the votes toward their artists.
Interesting.
So you have it's like the big guns are just shooting off the big guns at each other monetarily. Who can outpace the other one?
Well, it's always kind of
to
been
get
that
the voting
way,
rights.
And even every facet of the music industry is that way. And I don't think people really realize it, like how much money goes into advertising to get songs in front of you, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or
well, that's what I was going to get back to.
Instagram.
Is some of that stuff sponsored? Like if it is saying and not to pick on Christina Aguilera, she's a fantastic artist. She is in a big label,
but she has a lot of money behind her.
So is her label pushing that out? Because they've got, I was reading about return on investment. They can put out millions of dollars into an artist because they can push. They know if they put that product in front of you 10 or more times,
right,
that you will have at the very least brand recognition. So when you hear somebody else talking about this person or this band name or this song, or you hear a piece of it because you've heard a piece of it on TikTok or on YouTube, even if you've just heard a snippet of it, because they've pushed that out so much, you have a familiarity that makes you feel like you want it. Even if it's not something that you would naturally gravitate toward without those kind of sneaky interactions.
Well, there's lots of stuff that's...
But we don't have millions to put into, like, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So the independent artist, it was saying how the independent artist, it is not impossible, especially on like platforms like TikTok, these short format things, to create kind of these anomalies in this big business thing. But it is still weighted against the independent artist.
Absolutely. You know, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and the interesting thing to me is that, like, the break-even point or whatever, for instance, if you have a company like Sony and you have a band like us that's independent and you face those offers each other in there, we both try to do the same things, it doesn't work, because if we can afford $100, say, in a month to try to push out our songs to new listenership, we might only get, at a 1% return rate, we might only get like 10 or 20 people to click through, you know,
Right.
or whatever. And out of those 10 or 20, maybe, you know, 1% of that will actually like or subscribe, you know. So that's not beneficial because the you know, we might not get none, we might get 10. It's because the sample size is so, you know, drastically small compared to what Sony would do. You know, if they put $1 million behind a song and, you know, a quarter of that goes just to YouTube alone, $250,000 of advertising, now they're getting their song in front of millions of viewers, you know, and the payoff is going to be, you know, if they have 1,000 people that like it or 10, but the payoff's going to be even bigger because it kind of spreads, right?
It snowballs because they're going to buy tickets or merchandise.
Right. They're going to pay back and they're going to get their money back out of that, whereas we would never see that $100. Or if we did, it would be so far down the line that we'd be homeless by then because we put so much money into advertising. So that's why I don't think that the end consumer and the average listener realize the difference in the
independent artists
in the two artists, you know, for one, and that there is so much money behind those machines.
Yeah.
But then also, I don't think they understand the power that they have, because if they did share it all the time, the listenership, if they're sharing, resharing, posting, you know, really in people's faces about it, then that spreads like wildfire, and that's what creates the viral stuff, right?
Right.
It's just there's a tipping point of. That's why artists become viral. There's a certain, you know, it either be the algorithm or the people sharing it, and a lot of times it's just the people interacting fast enough. So if it gets pushed. For whatever reason, we'll see videos that pushed out to 5,000 people one week and maybe 1,000 people the next week, or 10,000, you know, one week. And
we don't know why.
When we see that, with that,
we've not done anything different.
That doesn't, and even the click-through rate, you know, doesn't change a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But if for whatever reason the share rate and the like rate and the interaction rate goes up because they're in business to keep you on their platform, right?
Yes.
If they start to see those things going up, then all of a sudden it pushes to more and more and more and more. And that's how something viral happens. And it's really crazy because it's not always the best thing that goes viral, right? Like sometimes in hindsight, it's like, oh, like, why do people like that? It's cringeworthy, or it's a major fail, you know, or like there's something, you know, and it might not even be the most entertaining thing. It just happens to be
the thing that caught.
And because one person liked it, other people hear it and they're like, oh, well, there's a lot of clicks on this.
Yes.
We see that all the time on our Facebook pages.
I even fall for that. Like, I will be scrolling the short form videos, whether it's Reels or TikTok, and I'll watch something, find it interesting, and a lot of times, like, if I'm the first person to view and like this, it makes me feel a very specific kind of way that's hard to identify. Like, I don't want to be the first person to like it. I will. Sure. I'll be that person. But it makes me want to go back and watch the video again and go, is there something I missed? Is there something problematic in this that I'm, you know, am I not clued in on something? Why haven't more people liked this or seen this?
It's a strange thing that everybody wants to fit in, even in a anonymous world.
Yeah, and I consider myself to be fairly nonconformist.
Well, just seeing that other people like something is enough to click on it and see what it is, or listen to it at least. Because I mean, like you said, I'm guilty of it too. I'll scroll through, I'll see videos from other artists that I don't really follow that much. I'm kind of like, this is
a little skeptical.
Maybe
with
I'll
low
watch
likes.
1, 2 here, there, you know. And sometimes I like, sometimes I don't, because I'm not really a heavy like button pusher, no matter what platform I'm on.
I definitely am.
So you know, but then. You're right. I mean, I was scrolling things with 12 likes, 20 likes, 30 likes. I'm just kind of like, okay. You know, and then you see something 500 likes or 1,000 likes, and you're like, oh, what's up with this? Like, what's happening here? You know, and a lot of times the tendency is to like it and then watch it, even because you're like, oh, everybody's liking it, I should like it too.
What is that?
And then you interact.
Is that herd mentality?
It is definitely herd mentality.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's the same as, you know, the populars in high school or whatever, because you're like that other people like them, so now you do too.
Yeah. We're all just people in a room. So, like, kind of back to the long play records and whatnot, and the interaction with them, and this song, the Mellow Mood. I liked this song. No, it was on CD for me, but the CD that I had didn't have a lyric sleeve.
Oh boy.
I didn't know for years what the heck this man was singing, especially with all the background vocals kind of overlapping. And even though they had the vocals mixed really hot in the mix, I couldn't make out what he was saying. So the whole part of strike the iron while the hammer is, or strike the hammer while the iron is hot. Not a clue till Google. I mean, zero clue. And then I was like, yes, this, of course that's what he's saying.
Of course that's what he says. It's funny. Yeah. It's like we take the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So we take the good and the bad for
I'll
sure.
take having Google and also long play records.
Yes. I think that it is possible, and even though I have the greatest skepticism for humanity, I think that
You've met too many people.
Yeah, I think it is also possible that eventually in the long spirals as we go forward and backwards, one step backwards, two steps forward type of idea, that we can gravitate towards better things,
Yes. I think if a bunch of us use our herd mentality towards something positive, we will achieve it. Mm-hmm. And I believe in our capability for better than what we have. And our ability to disengage from the things in life which steal our peace and our joy in order to re-engineer our time toward the things that give us peace and joy. Yeah.
Indeed. Good thought.
On a side note, I do have a question for Two Pie to Mash specifically. I have been listening to your birdie, and as we've been talking about the creating a relationship with the ideas of the artist, I feel like this is an artist that I would like your recommendation on an entire album to listen to, please. So if you have a moment, shoot me a comment on what album by Birdie to listen to.
Anybody else? If you have albums that you really think we should listen to, please add them in the comments below.
Yeah, or your favorite to sit with, whether it's for art or the music content. What for you? What for you does it? I'll say, lately for us, Sketches of Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
Go check it out.
Good stuff.